Yo, Lem listers, how you guys doing? I hope you're doing. I hope you're doing wonderful, and I hope you're having fun, doing some cool stuff in your work and in your personal life. As you recall, we made a promise to you guys that both in our email outreach community and via our newsletter that we're gonna create some super useful content around integrations that you can do in Lemlist, kind of like creating more complex, more professional outreach campaigns, and as well like putting a lot of boring stuff that you kind of hate on autopilot. So today is the first day where we introduce a piece of content and kind of like we started executing on that promise. And so the first piece of content that we are sending to you is the integration between Google Drive and Lemlist. So more specifically, connecting your sheets to Lemlist integrations, to Lemlist. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Google Drive. I'm a heavy G Suite user. Guillaume can confirm that, by the way. Essentially, the goal here is that if you're having your database of prospects, of your like potential clients, leads, whatever, lined up in your Google sheet, you can essentially like create a campaign or a sequence or any type of a drip campaign for that matter, and send your campaigns on autopilot. So just like when you add a new user in your Google Sheet, Lemlist can automatically fire an email. Or if you connected your Google Sheet to I don't know, like a Facebook ad campaign, to a specific landing page that generates leads on your website, and those leads are put into a Google spreadsheet, it will also Lemlist can also immediately send emails as soon as that lead automatically pops up in your Google spreadsheet. So there's like a million ways to do this. And I love, like I said, Google Drive and Sheets are something I use on a daily basis. And by the way, I'm going to do a detailed case study on this podcast outreach because today we played with this and launched a campaign to podcasts. I'm going to show you a piece of it today, but I'm also going to do a more in-depth case study when I analyze the results, and I'm probably going to publish it next week. But essentially, back to the point. Connecting Google Sheets to Lemlist. So as you see, for example, here, this is the list of prospects, podcasts, shows that we wanna make, that Guillaume and I want to get in touch with, and we wanna put Guillaume into some podcasts. Hope you guys, if we manage to do so, that you're gonna look and listen to those episodes where Guillaume joins. But here's the list. So you can see that in the list I have the email. I'm going to give my example because I cannot share the entire list. There's too much value. And it's kind of like a private data. So please forgive, I cannot share that, but you can see the example. So here's me, like let's imagine that I have a podcast. So here's my email in which you can contact and pitch me. I've needed their first name. So all the first names are the names of the hosts. So we are not 100% sure if the host is going to read that email or somebody from their team, depending on the size and the popularity of the podcast. But we wanted to have the first name of the host. Next thing, podcast name, pretty basic stuff. So we leverage that into our email copy. The red columns are something internally. So type is whether it's an email or a form. Majority of them are possible to reach via email, and in my case study I'm going to share an easy way how you can get those emails. Status is something that did we send an email, did they approve, basically like the status of our application. Categories, how we organize, so we have SaaS, sales, startups, entrepreneurship, sales, depending on the category of the podcast. We have their website if we want to use a personalized image, and this is what I think it's gold about this campaign. So if you saw like our first podcast outreach sprint that we did back in September, so this is where we got this idea to have this personalized sentence, because a lot of people pitch podcasts. Podcasts are cool these days, but in order to stand out and in order to make things unique and really but I really mean this, it's not a cliche, build that relationship or start building a relationship, you gotta do the extra effort. So you cannot and you shouldn't ever try to automate EQ and creating meaningful relationships, because the more unique your email is, I promise you, the better the results. Sure, you're gonna invest more time, but hopefully with the trick I'm about to show you, it's gonna be a little bit faster, but still keep that in mind. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is that for every single podcast in this spreadsheet, I know the basic stuff about each of these podcasts. So I literally went and listened to the entire or to a segment of an episode for each and every podcast. That's what I mean by being unique and standing out. So you gotta put in the extra effort. So back to my strategy. So what I did is I went to every single podcast and listened to the entire or a piece of their show, and then I used that in my copy. So the personalized sentence is something that goes into the email copy. And this example, obviously, Jose Mourinho is a coach, but I'm an Inter fan, so I just use it as an example. So a personalized sentence for Jose Mourinho and his podcast would be, and my podcast in this example would be the episode with Jose Mourinho is amazing. It was super interesting to hear how he set up the game plan and eliminated the mighty Barcelona from 2010 Champions League semifinals, because Inter crushed Barcelona back then. Good time if you are an Interista. But I digress. So as you can see, this sentence is there to really show you that I've invested some time in listening to your work, and I'm giving you a compliment, a meaningful compliment, not fake flattery. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you my pitch. So keep in mind, this campaign was sent a few hours ago, so we are sending it right now. The results are not bad. I'm going to see the replies. So this is the message. This was the message. So please don't just copy it, because this pitch will be received by a lot of podcasts, and you're gonna look like a douchebag if you copy it and people receive the same pitch as we. But the pitch is pretty basic, no images this time, only text, and you can see my key segment is here, and then you gotta have the credibility piece. I've leveraged the credibility of Guillaume, putting in some useful links, references, credibility, giving a brief overview of who Guillaume is, and of course some potential topics that can be discussed in the episode. Then Guillaume went to the email, edited a little bit, put in his magic, and voila, here's the email. And so for these purposes, because this is a live campaign, I'm just going to create a podcast test. I'm not going to upload anything, and I'm just going to set a blank email, and I'm going to say, Oye, como va? That's the one. Boom. I'm just going to select this. Boom. It doesn't matter, as this is the example. So I'm going to put me. Boom, create the campaign. So I've called it podcast test. So now the thing you want to do is you wanna connect. So imagine that you've sent your first couple of emails, and you're adding your podcast prospects into this table, whether it's manually or automatically, doesn't matter. But if you want, whenever a new user is added in this table, if you want Google to shoot those prospects immediately into Lemlist, and then Lemlist can just take over and send emails, here's what you gotta do. You gotta go to Zapier. So I already have an account, but it will look a little bit different, but super simple stuff. You just create your Zapier account, and you wanna create your Zap. So it already gives me here, because I already tested this out and play with it, and I'm gonna set it up. I've deleted my Zap so I can show you from scratch, but I'm gonna set this back up because we're gonna continue pitching podcasts next week. So you wanna connect your Google Sheet, and the desired action, you can choose the desired trigger, So the trigger between the Google Sheet and Lamlist, but for this example, you wanna say whenever a new spreadsheet row is added into your file, you wanna create a new body in Lamlist, read and prepare outreach to be sent, right? So just click on Save and Continue. Obviously, I already have connected my Google Drive account, so just save and move on. Boom, boom, the spreadsheet. So let's say we want, where was that done? Content distribution, correct. Worksheet, podcasts, obviously. So this is where you connect your file on your Google Drive and the worksheet if you have multiple sheets in one file. Boom, continue, next. Yeah, so here it gives you the examples. If you click down, it will give you the information how that's going to look. I'm not going to do that now. It doesn't matter really. Continue. Boom, so you're done. The next thing you got to do is you want to add another step. You can click here or add a new step, and you want to connect that with Lamlist. So the trigger that's going to happen here is we're going to add a body to be to a campaign, obviously. Save and continue. In this step, it's going to ask you to connect your Lamlist account with Zapier, and the way you're going to do that is you're going to go back to your Lamlist account, you're going to go to integrations, copy this login and password, so I blurred ours because everybody has its own data, of course. So you're going to go copy the login and password, and instead of this, you're going to see a place to put your info. Just put it, connect it, click on continue. Okay, so this is where you add the details of the podcast see, for example, here's an example, Amy, try radio. You will see the information of one podcast, but it doesn't matter. So here is where you set up the variables. So how variables are going to be taken from a sheet and put it into Lamlist. So obviously you want to add your campaign address. That's going to be email of a prospect. The name of the campaign is test podcast, right? Or is it now? Let's go back to the campaigns. Podcast test, sorry. So podcast test, here it is, boom. So that's the campaign where you select your campaign. First name, I got a first name. It's Amy in this particular example. Cool. Last name, I don't have it. Company name, I don't have it. Don't care about it. Image URL. Image URL can be website if you want. I haven't used that one, but if you want to use it and already test it, you can do so. Boom. And custom variables. So the two key custom variables for me are podcast and sentence. Oops. Cool. And you're gonna select sentence. Here it is. Boom. You can see this is the real example. So the episode with Craig Mercer. So I was listening to this episode and I know about his experience selling through Amazon. Podcast. Boom. Podcast name. This is it. So this is essentially everything. So depending on your campaign, you'll be connecting your own variables, your own data, and your own custom variables. When you finish this, click on continue. Boom. So the next step is kind of like the finalizing this integration. So you can see the overview of the information here. And all you want to do is you want to send test to Lamlist. A test list was sent to Lamlist. Perfect. Here it is. It's already in there. So you just go. You can see that it's here. Amy, write, review. Oye, como va? You don't see because I haven't put in the copy. I can edit that just to show you. So you said you remember we had we can go like this. So sorry for this, guys. I'm just gonna do it real quick. First name. Boom. Loved. So this is just the example. So I'm going to do this. Loved podcast. And I'm going to put sentence here. Let me know. Look. Bank. Save. Back. Review. and you can see. So the information is pulling through properly. Hey Amy, loved Thrive Radio. The episode with Gregor Mercer was awesome. Was very interesting to hear you. So all the information is pulled in automatically. You can review the email, click on send, boom, you're done. Keep in mind that also, if you don't want to review emails, I always like to review emails. I'm just, for this type of campaigns, I might get some idea for a specific podcast that I really, really, really love. So I'm gonna maybe play with the copy a little bit, get some new ideas. But if you don't want to review emails and you want to put that on automatic, just come here, go to edit, go to options and tick this box, review automatically, new body to be inserted. So whenever a new body comes in, Lamlist is going to review that for you. It's going to be sent automatically. But if you don't want that, just untick it, go back, and as you can see, it all works super, super easy. You go back here, you say, cool, my campaign is done, finish. And we're just going to wait, and we're just going to wait. Name your Zap. Name your Zap. Let's name it Podcast Test. And once you click this, Zapier is automating stuff for you. It's still automating, and the Zap is working. Boom. And this is it. I think that covers it. I hope this was a useful video, a bit longer than usual, but we're starting to play with this content around integrations. Keep in mind that you can play with different triggers. You can play with different kinds of spreadsheets, different kinds of campaigns, whether that's a cold email outreach or some sort of a sequence, a drip campaign that you're doing. Like, there are a million ways, really, there are a million ways, and you can connect all kinds of docs. One thing that you gotta know before we end this video is, as I said, next week we're gonna do an in-depth case study around this outreach. So we're gonna share the results. I'm gonna copy some maybe variations that I've used in my copy, the tests we did. I'm gonna see how that performs in the upcoming days. We're also gonna share some useful websites from where you can pull podcast details like data, email, information, listen to their episodes, and we're gonna basically reveal our strategy here so we can inspire you guys not only to use Zapier integrations, but also to reach out to podcasts, reach out to I don't know, like YouTube shows. It's also a possibility, and kind of like work on that channel, because I think that channel is something that we all gotta focus as much as we can. But that's next week. And finally, if you have any integrations, we have some like a content strategy, which integrations we're gonna attack. We started first with Zapier because Zapier gives you a lot of opportunities and it's not that difficult to set up. We're also gonna be addressing different integrations in the future. But if you have an idea or a specific integration / automation that you want us to address in this video, please put a YouTube comment or post something in email outreach community, and we're gonna try to make that for you. That's it. I'm gonna stop talking now. Wish you a good Friday, and see you next week. This was a first Lamlist Tip of the Week edition, where we are talking about integrations, fancy campaigns, and some powerful stuff that you can do in Lamlist. Take care and see you next week.